Hello and welcome to Podcast Unlocked episode 426, our second show of the year, but this year has no chill and we have a ton coming up, including that Sony is, surprise, not going to E3 this year, but Microsoft is, and also that Xbox won't have any Series X exclusives for maybe the first year or so. We also have a first look at Master Chief's new do for the Halo series, but we don't actually have the look. We just have some descriptions of it. But we're going to do our best to kind of use our imagination because nobody knows what Master Chief looks like. And then we have that and plenty more on this episode of Podcast Unlocked.
Podcast Unlocked.
Welcome, friends. I'm Miranda Sanchez filling in for Ryan McCaffrey while he is out on a very exciting assignment that I'm sure he's going to want to talk about whenever he gets back. But today I have a very great panel. We're almost back to full staff. We're getting there. Joining me is Destin Legary.
Bam! Let's get a little bit of hype up in this show.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, no chill this year. We got so much to talk about.
No chill.
Yeah. Brandon, making his 2020 debut.
Hi. Yeah. Hello. I
Hey,
missed
hello,
last week,
welcome
but I'm
back.
back and I'm tired and I'm ready to go.
Yay. And Mark Medina joining us again.
Hi, I'm back again. Yeah, DiGiorno Pizza also not going to E3. They tweeted about that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'll add it to the wiki.
I didn't see it on the paper.
Did that really happen?
Yeah, they did.
That's
They're like,
great.
hey, guys, we're also not going to E3 2020.
Not in an official capacity, but
Yeah.
every year a lot of DiGiorno pizza is eaten at E3.
Yeah, a lot of pizza for sure. So let's just jump into it.
Yeah.
Sony is not at E3 again. I will go ahead and read their statement. Honestly, this is like a huge surprise because I did think that they were going to be back with the new console generation. So here is what Sony had to say. After thorough evaluation, Sony Entertainment has decided not to participate in E3 2020. We have a great respect for the ESA as an organization, but we do not feel the vision of E3 2020 is the right venue for what we are focused on this year. We will build upon our global event strategy in 2020 by participating in hundreds of consumer events across the globe. Our focus is on making sure fans feel part of the PlayStation family and have access to play their favorite content. We have a fantastic line of upcoming titles for the PlayStation 4, and with the upcoming launch of PlayStation 5, we're truly looking forward to a year of celebration with our fans. So it's kind of interesting that they specifically point to saying, hey, the ESA's thing with E3 is just not what we're feeling. It's like, what?
That's an interesting thing to like lead off with your statement with. Obviously.
I don't like where E3's been going. How do you guys feel?
Obviously, it's a business,
I hate the whole, like, it's open to everybody now. It's like, that's Gamescom, or like, that is like these fan event experiences that
Right.
Xbox and Sony is already doing. That is not what E3 was about. And the ESA just doesn't care. They became a consumer-facing company.
Our names are still up. And Borba's freaking. Producer Borba's like, what do I do?
That was the thing I forgot to press.
That's all right.
I did it.
But yeah,
So many buttons.
I don't love the direction that E3's been going the last few years, and they just seem like they keep bragging about attendance numbers, and I'm like, that makes the experience worse for everyone.
Well, it's moving further from a trade show into a consumer show now, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, we have so many consumer shows already that like know what they're doing. Like a PAX event is such a fun thing.
Yeah.
And you don't have the same experience going to E3. Like I have heard from some people who have gone to E3 that they're just like, this is really disappointing. There's so many lines. There's not a lot for us to do. But that's what E3 is. Like it's not geared toward consumers. Like you're kind of seeing some booths like make that shift. And like, oh, well, we want to be friendly to the people who are coming, but like at what cost? And it's a very strange change, but I think it's still even stranger that, again, saying with the new console generations just right around the corner that Sony wants to skip this in lieu of their own events. Sony also did not announce any dates or any sort of indication when they're going to hold their own events.
Congrats, ESA. You have pushed away some of the biggest people that drive traffic to E3. Sony's out. Microsoft, they have a presence there.
They're
So,
still there. but,
Microsoft,
They're
did
doing
confirm.
their conference,
EA left years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird. It makes me wonder if Sony is ever gonna come back to E3, only because it's
Why?
like,
What do
well,
they get by coming back?
oh no,
spending
I'm
millions
not
and,
saying I want
like-
them back.
I know,
I'm saying it's weird to think that like okay, they didn't come last year, and everyone's like, well, that's because, it's the end of the generation. They don't want to spend millions and millions and millions of dollars just to compete for news and not have a lot to show. But we thought for sure they'd be there this year. Their console's launching this year, and yet no. So it's like, if not this year, then
Probably
why next year?
Probably
Why
not.
the year after
I
that?
wouldn't see it happening again.
It's very strange to think that it's like that might be it.
So late last night, Phil Spencer did confirm that Microsoft will be at E3. He tweeted, "Our team is hard at work on E3. We are looking forward to sharing with all who love to play what's ahead for us. Our art form has consistently been propelled by the cross-section of creativity and technical process. 2020 is a milestone year in that journey for Team Xbox."
So interesting he phrased it that way. Will you be present during the E3 conference but off-site like you were last year, or are you actually going to be on that show floor where you have to pay millions of dollars for booth space?
I don't think they will. I mean,
why? What benefit
Well,
do these
because
people get?
they own the Nokia Theater now. It's now I
Right.
think the Microsoft Theater, and
It
it's
is.
Exactly.
It's literally 5 minutes from the E3 door to the door of the Microsoft Theater. So it makes total sense. Like, you have that space, own it. You don't, like you said, you don't have to pay that $1 million. The $10,000 per square foot of show floor space, or whatever ridiculous price tag it is.
I agree with where all you guys are coming with. I'm not saying like this is a bad idea on Sony's part or Microsoft's part. I'm saying it's smarter for them to do their events elsewhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the ESA is going to suffer, and E3 is going to suffer because of this weird direction that ESA is taking.
Maybe DiGiorno will rethink their tweet and buy that booth space.
Yeah, there's all this free space now. DiGiorno-con. Yeah.
And
Yeah, I think stuff happening around E3, like I was reading different tweets, and a lot of people are like, good, they're not going to E3, like that's totally fine. And it's like, I think E3 is still an exciting time.
it's still relevant. For
Yeah.
And it was a little weird, missing out on Sony last year around that time. I like this direction of like EA is like, we're not part of E3, but we're going to do our showcase during E3. And that's kind of what Microsoft, that's what everybody's still doing. And so it's like, hopefully we just get more of that.
There's people surrounding E3.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, when you're actually at the E3 days, like those show floor days, you felt Sony's absence. Like you could see how much emptier it was,
it
how
did feel barren.
fewer things there were. And there's just like this big space of nothingness. Whereas like usually it's like, really packed. Of course, around the Nintendo booth, it's like, you're like arm to arm with other people. But I think with having Sony skip out, it is just a little bit less fanfare. And yeah, maybe Mark, they will do something like right before E3 or like just preceding those actual show floor days. But I kind of think that they're going to take it super far ahead of that and just have their own very big event and try to make keeping their own news cycle, right?
I think it speaks to what the value of E3 is now. It's less of a physical event and more of a period of time during the year. Like, it is E3 time where everybody announces and makes their announcements. You're going to get announcements from EA and Sony just because that is when people are tuning in. This is their chance to grab the mainstream. This is when they reveal things. It's an exciting time for us, for consumers, for publishers, for devs. I think it means less as a physical show now. I think with the absence of EA and Sony, and I think you're going to start seeing more and more people pull away from E3. I wonder, in the past years, we've speculated that the ESA has shifted toward this more consumer-driven show in order to, double down on the value and make it that booth space, make it worth the investment from publishers, right? Because they're not just selling to us, the media. They're not just selling to other publishers and developers. They're selling to consumers. But is that worth it anymore? Like, now that it's a consumer show, is it worth it for Sony to spend those millions and millions of dollars to have a presence there when they can get just as much from a PlayStation Direct or a PSX, right?
Even brands like us, we opted not to be on the show floor last year because we can do a better live show off-site.
Yeah. What I was
people
gonna say
like
is it's weird to see this like weird shift where it's like PlayStation leaves and Microsoft, I mean, they could also leave, but instead they're choosing to kind of capitalize on
Just
Sony's
embrace it.
absence by being like, okay, well, then we're going to go harder. And it's like they didn't have a ton to show in 2019, but at the same time, their conference was still super cool because it's like, they're like, well, we're the big one at E3 now. So
I'd say they actually had a lot to show in 2019. Like they had a great show that definitely took like notes from Sony's playbook and just having these reels of awesome game after game after game and just like really hitting us with so much stuff. And like it was really exciting to watch that too. It's like we had so many things to look forward to, and we still do. And I think that's going to be this year too. It's like we have so much we don't know about next gen still, and this will be a great opportunity for them to showcase that.
So let me ask this question. Will Sony ever go back to E3? Mark kind of hinted at it. I think they're done.
yeah, I would assume that they are. Like I said, if they're not doing this year, which this is going to be a really big year for at least the next the biggest year in the next 7 years, because this is the console launch. If they're not doing this year, you would have to assume that there's no big reason to show up next year or the year after or the year after.
I think they will. They'll go back eventually.
Yeah.
If only because the definition of E3 is going to shift at some point. Something has got to give at some point. Either the ESA is going to wise up and realize that whatever relationships they have with these developers and publishers isn't paying off anymore, or E3 is going to die and no one's going to go back. So, if they want to maintain this as the pinnacle of video game newsdom of the year, they need to figure out a way to appease not only the publishers and developers, but the consumers and the trade outlets as well, right? Like you have to make this show valuable for everybody involved.
It definitely feels like a ESA midlife crisis sort of happening.
I think they're at a crossroads. They don't really know. And
where do we go?
It's a long time coming, right? The rise of the influencer, the rise of non-traditional media, the rise of developers and publishers being able to directly speak to their audience, not really needing us. Like, look at Blizzard. Blizzard doesn't ever attend E3 because they have their one event per year, and then the rest of the year they set up preview events or review events. And that works totally fine. So we're at this weird sort of crossroads where all these traditional ways of speaking about games and reaching out and touching your audience is sort of, it's all jumbled up right now. And we need to wait for the blocks to settle. And then we'll figure out like what the games industry is going to look like for the next decade.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very well put.
Thanks.
I agree. I don't actually, I kind of agree. I don't think they'll go back though.
No.
Despite everything, I think yes, he will figure it out, but I just don't think Sony wants or cares about it anymore.
Yeah.
I think if this year they didn't go back, it's just not going to happen again, which is going to be interesting because we want to see how maybe Microsoft takes more advantage of that. I don't think Nintendo is going to change its direction with just having its directs, and I think it's worked really well for them. And so now we have like this bigger open space for other game companies come in and have their own like special limited conferences. And those are always fun too. And we don't talk about those as much just because they are just multi-platform sort of deals.
Right. Bethesda, Square, to some extent, Konami,
Ubisoft.
but I think it's been a few years.
Yeah.
Ubisoft.
Yeah, so,
Ubisoft, yeah.
Yeah, Devolver. They always have a fun one.
Devolver's
Maybe they'll take the Sony spot.
If you like watching chest bursters come out on stage, you're gonna love Devolver.
How do you like chaos?
Pretty much.
Yeah, so I think we're gonna have a lot in store. I think I'm ready. We want to move on to this next topic because it's also huge. I think huge for a lot of people who may be like kind of on the fence about moving on to the Series X next year this year actually. So we got the news in that Xbox won't have any Series X exclusives for at least a year. And Brandon, would you like to fill us in on this news?
On the news?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the school of thought is with a new console, you get games targeted at these new consoles and these new specs, and they're going to be awesome and amazing. They're going to harness the full power of the console. Microsoft is basically coming in and saying you're not going to see things like that for a few years afterward, largely because they're not going to alienate the Xbox One family of devices. So you're going to get Microsoft's, Hellblade 2 is going to come to the Series X, but it's also going to come to the Xbox One, right? I assume so. I imagine.
If it comes out within like the next
we
few
don't
years
have
or
news on
something.
that. I'm just using it as an example. And what that essentially means is that they're going to develop a SKU for their devices and then scale up or down depending on, what each device can handle. And this isn't the first time we've seen this. If you remember the transition from the 360 to the Xbox One era, I think a really good example of this is Middle-earth: Shadow of which one was the first one? Mordor. I should know that.
It's been a few years. It's fine.
No, Dan reviewed it. I did the IGN first on, I think, both of them. Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor, its major selling point was the Nemesis system, which is friggin' awesome, and I'm surprised developers and publishers haven't just wholesale stolen it because it's a fantastic system. The Xbox 360 version of it did not include the Nemesis system. The Xbox One version did. So in addition to maybe a scaled down resolution, and before working at IGN, I used to work in mobile development, and this is exactly what we would do. We would make a game for 300 devices. And to cover all 300 of those devices, you made 5 SKUs. SKU 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 covers 30, 2 covers 40, 3 covers these 20 devices. And what essentially happens is these SKUs are developed in such a way that SKU 1 covers high-end devices and low-end devices based on the form factor. So you have features A, B, C, and D. The highest-end devices does all of them. And as you continue to move down to the lowest common denominator for that SKU, you start unchecking features, or you scale down resolution, or maybe the frame rate dips because it doesn't have the memory to support it all. And that's what I'm seeing. That's what I think we'll be seeing. Well, that's what I hope we'll be seeing with the Series X. I hope it's not a development team making 2 different SKUs because that kills development time.
Well, let me just tell you this. A developer, we've had this conversation a few times, and a developer did respond directly to the podcast and to me to say, they develop it more like with PCs. So you develop for different graphics cards, basically, and you scale down appropriately, and it's actually not that taxing on them. Yeah. So it's the best case scenario.
So I think the worst case scenario that everyone thinks is you're going to have one studio dividing their time across a high-end version and a low-end version, or even worse than that, you'll have like a port of it from another studio, right?
That is not going to happen.
We've seen a lot of, in the past generations is what I'm saying. What I hope happens is they develop for the Series X, for the top, as high up as they can get based on the hardware that they have. And then it's modular. So they start unchecking features, maybe downscale resolution, maybe downscale frame rate in order to support the Xbox One. But I think the mistake is to do the easier route, I believe, which is to develop for the lowest common denominator and then try to scale up, in which case you get a sort of a reduction in quality at something that's supposed to be your tip-top marquee version of the game.
They scale down.
Yeah, I'd like to think that they're doing it the right way. Yeah.
I think it's a real pro-consumer move. Like, they talk about how it's they don't want people buying an Xbox One or One X today to not feel alienated in the 9 months or whenever the new consoles come out. I think Microsoft is just super focused on getting people into this ecosystem they have, where it's like with Game Pass, instead of trying to sell 1 billion copies of Forza, they instead want people to get Game Pass, and then you just get Forza and Halo and any other first party titles. And so I kind of see the similarities between how they're doing with Game Pass and game sales to now how they're doing their consoles, where it seems like they're just more about getting people into the ecosystem any way they can.
And making it simple too, because one of the things that I'm still surprised by is that your old peripherals will work with the Series X. Like, you don't have to worry about like, oh, well, I just bought this brand new Elite 2 controller. Like, why would I?
And we actually asked this question a couple months ago. It's like, why would you spend $200 on a controller when the next generation of controllers is going to come out? Well, because Microsoft is smart. And they know that their infrastructure and their economy is going to be supported up and down moving forward.
Well, I found the tweet about how the developer does this. It's a producer at Ilphonic talking about how they scale appropriately. They said, I'm a dev and just wanted to weigh in on the scale up or scale down combo. I had it right in the previous episode. If you have the SKUs, you create to the highest and then scale down. Love the show. Keep up the awesome work. Thank you, Matt, for writing into the show.
That's really good.
Yeah, that's super helpful. I mean, obviously, we can't have all the insight in the world, and we definitely read those notes whenever we get them and appreciate them, because it's, again, very helpful. We can educate other people, too.
My main issue was with this headline, actually, because it comes off a little misleading.
Yeah,
right?
it's very, I mean, it's a very flat, unbiased, like, just this is what it is, but it does feel like almost targeted, because it's like, oh, well, they won't have exclusives. Like, that's not,
that's how
it's
interpreted, right?
It's like,
our culture.
It does make sense that it's not exclusive specifically to the Series X, which there were games for the Xbox One when it launched that were just for that, because it used like things like the Kinect and other peripherals that you couldn't use anywhere else. And so this makes sense, and I think it almost comes like as like a shock. But if you know anything about console launches, of course, is going to have its things that are like just going to be best there.
Oh, you'll have Microsoft exclusives.
Yes.
Right? And that's
what it is. Like that's the hard
the tricky
thing.
part now, because Microsoft is no longer a one platform publisher.
Absolutely.
So
and that's okay. They will have exclusives, but they're going to run on the Xbox One X, the Series X, and PC. They're going to be available everywhere, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But when you read this, you think Xbox is in trouble.
It's like, no, they're only launching with third parties. It's like,
I see a lot of community comments where it's like, well, next generation, I don't need to buy an Xbox. I'll just buy a PlayStation 5 and a PC.
That's fine.
Microsoft's totally fine with that.
That's your
totally
money.
good.
Totally good.
Because you're still buying the games from their store.
I mean,
and that's,
software and subscription is what sells, right? Consoles are the loss leader. You buy the console to get into the ecosystem, and then they sell. But back to Miranda's point about how they make it easier than ever. I mean, look at Xbox. Oh, God. The branding on these things. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate or Xbox Ultimate.
For the PC?
For everything.
for
You
PC
spend
and
$15 a month, you get Gold and Game Pass and Game Pass PC.
which is still in beta, by the way.
Still in beta,
Worth noting, and does not have everything.
And then at some point, again, to hammer down on that, you get xCloud in the future if they add that to it. They're creating an ecosystem where you can spend $15 a month and you get basically whatever you want. Like, you can do whatever you want. It's the World of Warcraft subscription service. World of Warcraft has been printing money for 12 years because everybody who plays it spends $15 a month. They don't have to think about it. Or I think they dropped it to $10 a month at one point. I can't remember. It's been years since I've played. But then, like consoles, every year or every other year, you drop $50 and you buy the expansion in addition to the $15 you spend per month. It's a genius way to sell goods and services. Yeah, it really is. It keeps people in the family. You don't have to think about anything, and you make one purchase every couple of years.
Mark, what's Sony's equivalent, and is it good?
I just wanted to add on that real quick. I think it's really funny. I just built a computer from the ground up, and 2 of the parts that I bought came with 3 months of Game Pass Ultimate. So I have 6 months of Game Pass Ultimate.
It's genius.
I think my CPU and I want to say like my case or the memory came with codes for Game Pass Ultimate.
That's nice.
You got it to
And
boot?
I was like, what's that?
I was excited about your new PC build. Did you get it to boot?
Oh, yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's great. I've been playing a lot of Borderlands 3. I can't. Anyways, PlayStation Now is getting better. It was terrible, but yeah, I haven't looked at it in a while, but it's like they're doing, so basically it used to be streaming only, and now it's you can download PS4 and I believe PS2 games. You can still only stream PS3 games. There's a ton of games on there, more than I thought there was. I haven't looked in a while. The thing that they're doing, what's weird versus Game Pass, is it seems like when a game gets added to Game Pass, I thought there was like a lot of buzz when Game Pass first started, where it was like, hey, here's a game, but just so you know, these games can be taken off. And I actually don't see a ton of games being taken off of Game Pass.
It's
I feel
really
like once
rare.
they hit Game Pass, I feel like they're just on there. And so they started with like a library of like 80, and now they're like 200 and something games in. And I'm like, where? The games aren't going anywhere. They're just staying. Where PlayStation Now keeps doing this thing where it's like, here's Horizon and God of War, but they're only going to be on here for like 2 months. Yeah. So PlayStation Now is definitely like way down here compared to Game Pass as of right now. And then obviously Game Pass has the thing where it's on PC and you get day one Xbox titles with it.
I'm subscribed. Sorry, words. I'm subscribed to the PlayStation equivalent, right? But I rarely use it, and so I don't actually know how often games are added to it. I know it's sort of every month, but in your opinion, in your experience, do you think that because it's sort of timed, not exclusive, but there's
Timed access.
Yeah, timed access is a good way to put it. Since they're timed access, does that mean that generally you get access to newer games?
No, because the ones that I keep putting on there are
like would Death Stranding hit at some point in the next couple months?
Probably not. Like, I don't know, because they just barely started doing this whole like we're putting our
like
first
kind of
party
revamped it.
AAAs.
Yeah.
So maybe, but the thing is the offerings that they have right now are kind of only because it's like God of War, Uncharted, Horizon. Those are games that you can walk into a GameStop and get used for honestly probably like $10 or $15.
Right.
So you're paying. PlayStation Now is cheaper now. It's like $10 a month, so it's more on par with Game Pass. But you're subscribing for limited access to something like Horizon Zero Dawn that you can just walk to the store and get for way cheaper. Where with something like Game Pass, you're getting first,
all the first party
day and
there.
date.
Yeah.
And the thing is not even just first party stuff. Like After Party came out day and date. Outer Worlds came out day and date. I think Outer Wilds. Like there's a lot of third party games that are just like day and date. And we haven't seen anything like that with PlayStation now yet.
Yeah, I think they have a lot of catching up to do if they want to try to learn from how Microsoft is really doing something that's really great and consumer focused. So this actually, the news story about this Series X exclusivity and whatnot came from MCV when they were talking with Xbox Game Studio boss Matt Booty.
Yep.
You know him? And he specifically said that they wanted to make sure that you can, of course, play up and down the family devices for the first 2 years or so. And they said, and this is the quote, "We want to make sure that if someone invests in an Xbox between now and Series X, that they feel that they made a good investment and that we're committed to them with content."
Yeah.
So, yeah, like that's just very obvious from everything they're doing. Like not even just their content, it's also their peripherals and like everything they've been just pushing forward. I think the PC thing is something that always stands out to me because people are like, well, I just don't need it because I can have a PC. It's like, that's good for
That's
you.
cool. Yeah.
Obviously.
Welcome to the Microsoft family.
Yeah, and we can play games together. It's so exciting.
Yeah. I think I really have a distaste for like the tribalism involved in consoles. I think that like I love my PlayStation because I get to play games like God of War and Uncharted and Death Stranding on it. I think I always default to my Xbox because it's just my ecosystem. That's what I came up playing. Like 12-hour binges of Halo 2 online, So I think that it's not a slight to look at the PC as your entry point into the Microsoft ecosystem. And I think that no matter how you get to play these cool games that are coming out, that's great. Everybody wins,
Right. And like they put them there for a reason,
Yeah.
right? It's like because they want that audience to be able to play these games.
And we're getting to a point now where like, hey, I grew up loving and playing Age of Empires. Guess what? I get to play a new one at some point now on PC, sure, but still, it's part of the Microsoft ecosystem, part of that family. So there is value to being a PC gamer in, that ecosystem.
Yep.
I think there's always seismic shifts when it comes to the video game industry. I think things that made sense 10 years ago are completely different now. Like we're all digital now, and there are definitely things, but there are people that are like, yeah, but I was just talking to somebody online the other day, and I was like, hey, I'm playing through Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and I was like, hey, if you have an Xbox. This just happened to be the conversation. I was like, they're all on Game Pass. And he's like, yeah, but I like owning games, right? I like going to physical games, right? And you're like, whoa, that's weird. But 10 years ago, that wasn't weird. A lot of people liked owning their games.
Yeah.
And so PlayStation is going at a very traditional route, which is we're going to have exclusives day one. And all the, very traditional on how they're doing it, where Xbox is kind of shifting how they're approaching things, and it's like who knows which way is the right way? Like we won't know for a few years.
I don't think there is a right way,
Sure.
honestly, right now. But for my money,
Like they
and
seem
again,
to always have gone hand in hand.
Yeah.
So I think people are wondering like, whoa, Sony's not going to E3. What does this mean for E3 and Microsoft? Whoa, the Xbox isn't going to have exclusives, but PlayStation will, but then they have Game Pass. And it's like, it's the first time where things are really starting to...
We don't know a lot about the PlayStation 5 yet. We don't know
That's
if they're
true.
going to launch with
That's
just
true.
exclusives
Who
or if they're
knows?
going to do the same thing as Microsoft and like let it go back up and down.
Yeah.
We
I
don't.
imagine they have to because your install base. Sony,
I don't think they have to.
Sony has the market share. Sony has
Yeah.
the install base. Sony, like Microsoft and Walmart, and every major corporation out there knows that you don't alienate your install base, right? So they have to support the PS4 for at least a few years. I think it's kind of a given. I would be surprised if they just started creating exclusives for the PS5 without a thought to the PS4.
I mean, that's what they did for PS4, though.
Yeah, that's like
it launched
that
with
is-
Killzone and it
Metal
did,
Gear, right?
well, Metal Gear was on both generations, but
Wait, what Metal Gear launched with the PS?
Metal Gear 5. But it
No.
it
It didn't
didn't
launch.
come out at launch, and it also was
Oh,
both.
never mind. I'm thinking of
That's what I
PS3.
did.
I'm
I
thinking
didn't-
of 4.
There was like smaller ones like Killzone and stuff like that. But and then
That's the only one I
even
remember.
even
Yeah.
Xbox
Killzone
was
was one.
Rise and
yeah,
a few other
Rise.
things.
Yep, that's
but
what I
then
think of.
PlayStation just a few months later was the Order 1886 and What's the magic game? What am I thinking of? Yeah, I know.
Do the guide for that. I'm just like,
We both laughed.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
we can all laugh at Rise as well. Not a great game.
That game was better
people-
than The Order.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I reviewed The Order
Probably.
1886. I gave it a 6.5. I still think that game was gorgeous. It was just very
It's
flawed.
pretty,
very
and
pretty,
then
yeah.
and then you're like, well, I guess at least it's pretty.
They're like, all right, story's just getting going. Credits.
I've never played that game.
I did
You
the
should.
guide for it.
You should.
And it's
You've
really
played
tough
enough of
because
it then, Mark.
because everyone's like, it's so gorgeous, and I'm like, yeah, but like it was so gorgeous when it came out in like early 2014. I'm like, is it still like the showcase of what PS4 can do? I don't know.
No,
if
it's
it is
it's
anymore.
it's certainly
So
not.
now I feel like I don't have any reason to play. Anyways, basically what I'm saying is they both went the traditional route of getting as many
Right, there's
new
like a
exclusives
reason
as
to
they
buy
could.
this new console beyond just new features, right?
Yeah,
like
and
it's
so
you can only play this here.
Yeah, and so it did work for the most part for PlayStation. Like they grew that install base. So it just depends on how much now that power is kind of, I don't want to say peaking, but it's getting to this point where it's like every game is kind of run the same. It's just going to look prettier. It does make me wonder.
Okay.
Like
I mean,
how
that's-
many people are going if they're going to need people to jump on the new platform.
That's fair, and I'll walk back my comments to the degree of I think Sony is taking a more traditional stance as far as their console release playbook goes, whereas Xbox or Microsoft is very clearly doubling down on the sort of modular, console family is going to be different SKUs moving forward through.
Theirs is definitely the more consumer friendly approach.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
far as we know.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Sony come out and be like, "Hey, you should buy the PS5 because you get to play this and only this on the PS5." But I don't know if that's necessarily the right way to go because if the PS5 comes out at $400 to $500, what's the percentage of your PS5? What's your percentage of your PS4 install base that's going to be able to make that jump to play that new game?
Right.
And I'm asking a question that's been asked forever because this is how consoles have always been sold.
Right,
But
I
now
think-
we're in a new age now.
Yeah, and so the really smart thing too is Microsoft is looking at this like cell phones, right?
Yeah.
So it's like whenever you get a new iteration of an iPhone out, I expect that OS to be on my iPhone later. If you have an iPhone, I don't have an iPhone.
But at some point, that video game says only compatible with iOS 4. and up.
Eventually, it says, "Oh, I can't get this anymore because it's too old." But it does last for a few years, and I think it's valid for people to want to hang on to their older devices and just keep those for a while, and then make the upgrade when they're ready.
I use mine as an iPod now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Always keep a backup phone just in case yours breaks.
I hope that we
I feel like you have a burner so now, like you've got this secret double life.
Don't worry about it.
I'm personally pretty happy that we're moving towards this. You always can play your games going forward, at least on the Xbox side. We'll see what Sony ends up doing.
Yeah.
Because then I don't have to hold on to the old tech. Like all my saves transfer, all my games transfer. We did end up moving mostly to a digital industry. I know some people out there still like their discs and physical editions, but I don't know if it's San Francisco, the small spaces, or what, but I just want to get rid of as much physical things as I have.
Yeah.
It's also because you're in your 30s. So,
Well, I have a lot of stuff that I've just had, and I don't use it. I don't look at it. It's not on display or anything. I just want it out of the house.
People keep buying me Funko Pops, and I'm like, please. Buy me these. I have nothing to do with them. I just put them in a closet.
So I think that's like the thing for me with physical game copies is I only want the physical edition if it's like one of my most favorite games. That is it. Otherwise, I don't need it in my space. It's too much. It's too much room.
I'm in the exact same boat. At the beginning of last generation, the 360 generation, I'm like, why would you ever want to not own what you own? That's insanity.
Right.
And now I'm like, I will literally buy a discless Xbox as soon as it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's like,
Like at the top of, in parity with the Series X.
I mean, you think about it, it's like how many times do you actually go back to those old games that are not your most cherished and beloved games? Like I still have my Fusion Frenzy disc and I will always have it.
Yeah.
And I will play it eventually, maybe with my children. Who knows? But like I won't get rid of that because it's something that means a lot to me. And like if I have, a copy of, I don't know, I can't.
But at that point, it's a
There's-
sentimental heirloom
Yeah.
rather than a disc used for functional video game playing.
Right. So it's just like, oh yes, I have this copy of Dark Souls, but do I need to use it when I already have it downloaded? No. So
And that's the thing is I've got a stack of Halo collector's editions about that tall.
Yeah.
The Halo Reach one in particular is that thick.
Yeah, and I feel bad about that because I love my Halo Collector's Edition stuff, but I have it all digital now.
It's in a box in my
in a
basement,
very
and I'm like,
important one.
maybe someone would love this more than I do, or maybe you could melt down the plastic and use it to make something that is actually useful rather than just a jewel case sitting in my basement. But you know,
On
here we are.
sorry, can I say one more thing?
Yeah, of course.
On owning and purchasing a Series X, though, I am really excited about Xbox and the Xbox brand. This is the first time I don't know if I'll get the console on day one. I almost didn't want to say that on the show because
you have a great PC.
I have a really powerful PC, and I'm like, they're always going to look best on this platform. So I don't know that I need the console immediately, especially because I have an Xbox One X and I have a really great PC. At some point, I will get a Series X. I just don't know if I'll be like an early adopter.
Yeah,
But
that's fair.
we were Founders Edition friends for the longest time with the Xbox One.
I'll be your new friend.
Okay.
With Founders Edition.
I don't know.
You're out. Miranda's in.
Now that mood could change, but
Dude,
we
it
need to
totally
know.
will. It totally will.
I'm gonna get
You
caught up in the
know,
hype.
3
you
months,
will.
3 months before that console drops, you're going to be like, oh, I made so many bad decisions.
Dustin, are you gonna not be in our console unboxing video?
Well, at IGN, I'll probably get one to unbox for
No.
work.
No.
Only if it's yours.
Well, yeah. to preface that, also, I can check out a console at work and take it home.
Sure, yeah, that is
so I
a
have
very
that
nice
advantage.
thing we have here
Sure,
is that
yeah.
you can sometimes check out a console if we have enough in the office.
So, like when I play God of War, for example, I checked out the Pro and I brought it home, and
That's true. Well, you totally derailed my transition.
sorry.
That's totally fine. So we want to talk about next. The Halo TV series has some like rumblings in the news.
Yeah.
I did say that Master Chief gets a new do, but it's like your do is the hair, and like we actually don't know what his hair looks like. So
I'm just
we can't
picturing
say
Porn
that.
Stash from Orange is the New Black.
Oh.
If he has a mustache,
Okay,
I'm
let
not
me-
watching the show.
let me add context in case you guys don't know what I'm talking about, because that is kind of jarring if you're not. Pablo Schreiber, the actor who is playing the Master Chief, I think his first real big break was a character in Orange is the New Black, the Netflix series, named Porn Stash, because he had a mustache that looked like a 70s porn star, and he was a total doofus jerk in that show.
He's one of the guards, right?
Yeah, he was sort of like the main guard in the first 3 seasons.
Yeah, that's the only seasons of that show I watched.
Now,
Yeah, me too.
now he's gonna be
Like
the
once
main.
once my partner stopped caring, I was like, oh.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, and then he went on to be in American
American
Gods.
Gods, that's
yeah,
what I know.
which I really, really liked him in, and now I am 100% Team Pablo.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now he's gonna be the guard of humanity.
Yes.
In this Halo TV
I
series.
hope we see his face. I
gotta-
know this might be a contentious opinion, but
I'm with Miranda. Nah.
No, we don't need to see
It's
his face.
hard.
I wanna see his face.
Because it's like, yeah, it's
see
the
his
same
face.
thing with the Mandalorian. It's like
not
I
canon.
know,
Don't
I know,
spoil anything for Mandalorian, by the way, just because it is new.
I'm not spoiling anything. I've only watched the first episode.
Okay, cool.
But
Perfect.
I know who's under that mask, and I'm like, I want to see Pedro. But we won't get to see him.
What's the point, right? What's the point of hiring? We know Pedro has incredible acting chops.
Right.
We know Pablo has incredible acting chops. What's the point of putting them under a helmet if they're not going to be able?
Like you get to hear him, and I'm like,
not-
that sounds like Pedro Pascal, but
like Master
But we
Chief
don't
is
need
supposed
to-
to be
we
7.5
don't need to
feet
see
tall.
him.
Why not just go why not go hire a dude from Norway that's 7.5 feet tall, like the mountain
And have
from
someone
Game
VO
of
or
Thrones?
something.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking about that, and I think it would have been.
Well,
a cool thing
that
to
was
do.
a big thing in The Mandalorian. A lot of people are like, oh, it's just a stuntman under there, and Pedro Pascal
How
does,
much of it
does
is-
the VO,
yeah.
but it's not. That's not the case.
Yeah, I mean,
I want to see his face.
I
think-
don't.
Sorry.
I think your motions and mannerisms and the subtle stuff you can do with body language.
There
does
is body
go a lo-
acting, for
does,
sure.
Does go a long way.
Especially for Chief, like that's such a
Yeah.
huge thing for him. And I think if you do watch Mandalorian, they achieve that really well too.
Yeah.
It's just a guy in a suit of armor, and you can do a lot with that.
Yeah, I don't.
So this news specifically is from a press event that Showtime is putting on. The TCAs are happening, so there's like a lot of different cool news coming out. And so for Showtime, press got their first look at the Halo TV series version of Master Chief. And
So
they didn't
Chief
show anybody
is
else.
in it. This actually tells us a lot.
Well, yeah, they said
we-
they're going
we
to
knew
follow
that.
Chief and they're going to do all this stuff. So they have like some ideas of what's going to happen. So our own David Griffin says Showtime's president of entertainment, Gary Levine, revealed the behind closed doors image, and we're happy to report that Master Chief looks fantastic. Probably looks like Master Chief is what I'd assume. I'm kind of curious, like which version of his
Mjolnir?
armor. Yeah.
Mjolnir.
Mjolnir?
So
Meow meow.
Meow meow.
Which meow meow armor?
oh,
Meow Meow Mark 5.
Levine assured everyone that Shriver was indeed the man behind the Chief's helmet, so confirming that he is acting this character.
And also confirming the picture was with a helmet on.
Right. So in the costume, rather than a stunt man, speculation also did, like we talked with The Mandalorian with Pablo. The photo shows Chief seated alone on a ship. Everything from Shriver's detailed costume to the inside of the vessel feels very authentic to the Halo video game franchise, which is, again, from our very own David Griffin.
That's important.
Yes. Like, we want to make sure.
It's super important because the visual aesthetic of Halo is so unique and so iconic now. Whereas if you come, if you bring an energy sword and it looks like a flimsy piece of, plexiglass, like spray painted with a gradient blue and CG electricity going around it.
The one we have in the office.
I'm gonna, I am. I'm gonna riot.
I like to think that Showtime does a good job.
Yeah,
Probably.
well, I mean, I can't.
I only watched Twin Peaks, so
I'm
that's
trying to
my
think of,
big
the
Showtime thing.
The last high-profile Showtime show.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't watch enough TV.
It's a little up in the air with them, I guess.
Yeah, knowing he's on a Pelican and that he's obviously wearing the suit, it's nice to know that we're going to get a look at the evolution of the combat in the series.
Get out. It's the third time
That's
I've
for
told
like
you to get
3
out
people.
today.
Oh my
joke.
goodness.
Terrible joke. I'm sorry. I'm off the show forever.
So, wow, that was
Can't
fast.
for you to be like,
gotta go.
I'm really excited for Halo 2.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so continuing on this news
that's
really quickly
reaching.
before we continue talking about it. Oh my God. Both of you, just get out of here. Anyway. Sorry, that was really loud. So Levine did not give an update on their first quarter 2021 release, which was like kind of the window that was announced in 2019. But they did say that production is underway in Budapest.
Oh, cool.
Hungary.
I'm really excited about that.
That's neat. Yeah. I don't know anything.
I think
about
that'll be a
Budapest.
cool location to give them a lot of. What it makes me think is like we're gonna see some sort of combat on Earth, but like in those old archaic ruins,
That'd be weird. Like in a castle.
Well, yeah, sort of in a castle, but I'm thinking more like Halo 2, like the first couple missions where you're in New Mombasa, I want to say.
They'll be shooting in the rocks or something though, like near mountains. Or
I hope not.
something.
Then why go to Hungary?
I don't know.
Locations.
It's kind of weird because we don't
They have
know.
rocks everywhere else.
That is true. They have some green, some greenery.
Yeah, maybe they're. I don't know the location that well, but maybe they have a lot of. You call them biomes when you're playing games, just different looking,
different
aesthetic,
environmental
stuff. That gives them a lot of.
Just go to New Zealand
flexibility.
then.
So
They have the same.
so not a whole lot known. Hopefully they'll show that a photo of the Master Chief soon.
Yeah,
I think it's a very, I don't know, that's like a simple thing to show. Obviously there's high expectations for it, but it's I think hard to get that wrong.
I wonder if they
you
were
guys
like
have money so
gauging-
you can get the armor right.
Yeah.
It's not that.
I wonder if they were gauging reaction. Yeah.
Yeah, and my biggest question is like, what does the ship look like? How authentic does it look? That's more of where I could see that be deviating from what we know.
I just want it to be
Otherwise,
practical.
it'd be fine. Yeah.
I want them to use as many props
Absolutely.
and pieces as they can. I don't want Pelicans to be CG because
CG everywhere,
even if it's beautiful CG, like during one frame, the lighting isn't quite right, and you can tell. And it
Well, did you feel
like not to be that guy, but like it kind of takes you out of it.
It does.
Do you feel the CG used in Mandalorian took you out of it, or did you think they hit a good spot?
I don't know. I have a lot of problems with Mandalorian.
Yeah.
I did as well.
I don't think the CG was really one of them. There's a particularly woolly rhinoceros in there that I thought looked good, but there were moments where you could tell.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's about the level that you can expect for the Halo TV series. My wife and I love Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Like, we look forward to every episode that comes on. And
Star Wars has always been more practical than CG. I'm not talking about the prequels because that is a different philosophy entirely, but Star Wars has always been more practical. So I hope they take that approach.
Yeah.
Because The Witcher was the same way. The Witcher had a lot of practical stuff as well.
Yeah.
A lot of CGI, but a lot of practical.
Did you like Witcher more?
Than Mandalorian?
Yeah.
Yes.
I did.
Me too.
Oh, somebody hit me up on Twitter asking my thoughts on The Witcher. Loved it. Loved it. Yeah, there were a couple of hokey moments where I thought I was watching Xena or Hercules, but
Oh, sure.
Witcher.
I'm gonna watch it.
2 thumbs up.
soon.
So
Full transparency. I only watched the first 2 episodes of Mandalorian, and I was like,
Get it.
I'm done.
Oh, yeah.
Bless
yeah.
you.
I don't know. I got really bored, but The Witcher was great.
There,
Bless you.
Thank you.
Bless you.
Thank you. Excuse me.
There were a
Sympathy
couple
sees this from
there were a
far
couple
away.
episodes of Mandalorian where I also thought it was like a Xena or Hercules problem of the week. Like there's a training the farmers montage, and I'm like, all right,
So-
I'm out.
So bring this back to a little bit.
Yeah,
Are any of you excited for the show? Or?
Yeah, absolutely.
I am. I guess I'm fatigued by the lead up. Hey, look, here's an image. Hey, we're talking about the show again. I'm like, give me something a little bit more tangible
Yeah.
at this point.
I agree. It's like there's just so much. Well, it's happening still, and it's like, can you show us something? Like, give us like a bigger release. Like, show us when you guys are ready to actually show a lot of things, and not just, there's some news.
Jesus.
Do we have a date? Do we
No.
even have a date?
We just have a release window as first quarter 2021.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
but you guys,
I agree with you. I think
not really.
I think the hype lead up has been kind of, but again, this is in Halo's DNA now. Anytime you try to bring Halo to the
Screen.
big or small screen, it's failed so many times. So at this point, I'm just like, yeah, if it happens, cool. If not,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be surprised.
I don't know. I've liked some of the animated stuff. I don't really see. I'm always that person's like, I don't see a need for a live action thing when this other thing we have is so cool and has a lot of value to it. Especially when you're not telling us like a new story. It's just revisiting things that we've already done so many times and like have seen in different ways so many times. That's like, what's the point? Like, why don't you try to use this to like expand your universe and do something really cool? Because you want to have Master Chief, I guess. And like that's fine.
And you also want to make the fans happy, right?
Yeah.
Like
Everyone has different opinions.
You
on
want
that,
people
of
who
course.
loves Halo to show up and see Halo.
I mean, I'd watch it if it was Master Chief, but
Really?
oh, of course. I think I'd be more interested if it weren't the Chief because we know the story. We know what happens with him.
I don't think it's the events of any of the games, right?
I don't know exactly if they've talked specifically about what this through line is in the
I
plot.
thought
Because like
maybe-
Cortana's there for sure.
Maybe I'm wrong, but
Thomas
yeah,
Gaston.
I thought it was around
Halsey
the
was
events of
cast.
Harvest.
I don't know.
First
like-
contact.
First contact, the first plan to get glassed.
Yeah.
I don't.
He doesn't. He has a suit though. When did he get Mjolnir 1? Like,
I'm not sure.
yeah.
He also did at the end of the show.
No, because they were
Yes.
augmented, and he was there for the glassing then. So, yeah.
I don't know, but I do know that for the teaser, I want a compound in the middle of a remote village, blood everywhere, USNC soldiers torn apart, just all over the ground, blaster plasma marks, burn marks everywhere. And then everyone's like, oh, the UNSC soldiers are afraid to go inside the building, right? And they're all shaking. And then a pelican comes and the chief drops 20 feet and just does one of those like cheesy superhero landings, but not cheesy. I want it to be really cool.
Impactful.
And then I want him to like throw his assault rifle over his shoulder and take 2 steps and the door goes, right, and opens and it's just pitch black. And then you hear him breathing and it's very quiet. And then you hear and an energy sword lights up and you see the energy sword walk closer. And then like the Predator reveal, an elite like sort of comes into frame, like materializes out of his cloak. And Master Chief just goes, and then that's the end of the teaser.
You want to do any like?
Have you like?
Oh, and
thought
I was
about
gonna
this?
say just right this second. I've
Oh,
had a
wow,
lot of
that's
coffee
amazing.
this morning, so I'm
Amazing.
seeing everything. But yeah, I might want to hear like a wart, wart, wart,
Yeah.
or demon, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have
That's
nothing
great.
against
That'd
like
be awesome.
this production. I'm just not usually big on like TV. I'm a Star Wars fan. I was not excited for Mandalorian one bit.
Yeah.
But you liked Witcher.
Yeah, that was just because I was on Christmas break and Netflix is anywhere, and I was like, let's start watching The Witcher in our hotel room. And then we watched the first couple episodes, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. I'm not against TV. I just don't really get excited for it. And the Mandalorian kind of proved why.
Yeah.
I just kind of was like, I'm not into this.
think
This
there's
will. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just say. I guess
I was just gonna
that's
go
the end
off
of
on
the
a tangent,
conversation.
but yeah.
Yeah.
Let's keep it. Channel the spirit of Ryan and keep things focused.
Yeah, it's like I can feel him like looming over me. He's like,
What if
move
the
on.
teaser comes out and it's exactly what you just described?
Then
Get those royalties.
They have to hire you.
then you can send the royalty check to 440.
Like right now at Showtime, there's like,
Yeah. No, nobody from Showtime knows who we are.
You never know.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. And
and we had Kumail Nanjiani on the show that one time.
Yeah.
Somebody watches Unlocked.
that's true. And I will say the first episode of any TV show is super important because I watched the
is.
first episode of The Mandalorian. I was lukewarm. And I watched the first episode of The Witcher and I was kind of lukewarm. I was like, oh man, this is going to suck, isn't it? And then you get to the fight scene in the alley where he does all the sword play. And I was like, nope, I'm on board. This is going to be great. I didn't feel that with The Mandalorian. So I think you really do need that powerful punctuation.
That last minute before it was spoiled was great in Mandalorian.
I don't even remember what it is.
It's when they show the thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're still skating around the fact
Even though
that
everyone knows what
Baby
it is.
Yoda's in the show.
I'm very surprised you guys don't like Mandalorian because I really like it. It's basically Lone Wolf. And Cub.
Anyway,
Yeah.
yes.
Ford was over there giving us a thumbs up.
I know. I'm just like, guys, let's rein back in. And we're going to talk
I think
about
we can all
some
agree Mandalorian's not. Okay.
game delays, Mark.
Complicated profession.
Like we keep delaying this segment.
Yes, true.
Game delays.
Yeah, so next up, we have some game delays because I don't know. I'm actually very mad about this, mostly because they're ruining my plans.
One's a little
Plans for the
delay,
season.
one's a pretty big delay.
Yes, we're going to
I'm
talk
supposed to
about.
plan my life around video games if they keep moving.
Well, I mean, that's her job.
That is my job. I'm like a
Yeah.
big old project manager. I have so much to manage here. Anyway, so the big news for us, at least, I think for now, is that Marvel's Avengers was delayed. So it went from, let's see, was it May 15th?
Yeah.
Moved all the way to September 4th.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So we're going to have a long time until you're going to get to play that, which is kind of a bummer because I feel like this is, if you were interested, would be like a fun thing to play over the summer and really get into because it is a more of a game as a service sort of deal.
They're also in the Destiny window of releases. Destiny, like big content dumps or content expansions, usually hit in September.
Right.
So now they're going to go head to head with Avengers.
Right. So the quote on this is, when we set out to bring you our vision for Marvel's Avengers, we committed to delivering an original story-driven campaign, engaging co-op, and compelling content for years to come, reads the announcement. That's from our story. To that end, we will spend this additional development time focusing on fine-tuning and polishing the game to the high standards our fans expect and deserve. Yeah.
This was one of those mornings where typical millennial, woke up, got my phone, got on Twitter, and I look, and a lot of people are complaining about Final Fantasy VII getting delayed, and I'm like, oh man, that sucks. And I go to the site to see, I wanted to see how many comments were on the news story, and on the front of our site, Marvel's Avengers delayed. And I'm like, what is happening?
Is this happening to all the video games? Did they all agree?
Yes, we still have a pretty solid release window for these first few months, but seeing stuff get pushed is a little bit tough.
Final Fantasy's new date is really bad.
So Final Fantasy VII, which is not going to come to Xbox for some time. It is, as some box art said, a timed exclusive until next year.
Yep.
So that got pushed back a month from March 3rd to April 10th. So now it is 6 days.
That is not
6
good.
days before Cyberpunk. And so this was the big thing
bad.
that just threw the biggest wrench in my plans. It's how dare you?
At least you're before Cyberpunk.
There's something before
one
it too.
saving grace.
Do you know the game that's before Final
Yeah,
Fantasy?
it's
like
Resident
Animal
Evil
Crossing
3
from-
remake.
Yeah. Okay.
So we got 2 remakes in a row and then Cyberpunk.
Wait, which one? Oh, Resident Evil 3.
Yeah, so
So
it's
Resident
just
Evil 3. You could probably do that in a week, right? Then you have Final Fantasy, and then Cyberpunk.
hey everyone, just take March off.
Yeah.
Just take March off. Except
April.
No, April now.
Oh, April now. Yeah. What if we just take both off anyway?
March for Animal Crossing, right? At least we have
Yeah, Doom.
a whole month for
We got Doom
Animal-
Eternal.
Oh, God.
Doom.
Yeah. There's so much coming out this fall, and seeing that get crammed even further into April was just not.
A very wise person said
Not what I
2020
wanted
has
to
no
see.
chill. So
Can any
true,
of those
sweet.
games go back and just release in February? That would help me out a ton.
Yeah, that'd be
Oh,
great.
that'd be great.
February's got
No, that's May.
May 29th.
Yeah, so that's a lot further away.
Yeah, if a game just came out tomorrow, that'd be cool.
Right. So my question is, with the timed exclusive on Final Fantasy VII being pushed, is does that push the release date for when that'll be on other systems?
Right.
Can I play this?
Is that year starting at the original?
Or is it gonna get
or
pushed
does it
a month?
now get delayed?
Yeah, so I'm really interested to see that, if that shifts at all, if we have any messaging on it, just mostly because I want to play
no
on
idea.
Xbox.
It's likely a year. It's probably from
Yeah.
what release.
Yeah,
I was gonna say,
I imagine the
probably
biz.
just says release.
I imagine the biz dev deal is a year from publish. Yeah.
Yeah, if that's the contract rather than
Yeah.
that specific day.
Right. Right.
That does change things legally.
Who knows?
But I think Avengers, Crystal, you do you. It's going to be a better game in September. I'm totally fine with this, and I think it's smart because you're not. I mean, if Avengers is going to be a game as a service, you're not vying for player base with Cyberpunk. You are.
Yeah, it was only a month out. So I don't think people are gonna be done with Cyberpunk within a month.
I agree. I agree. You're not. You're coming out after potentially a summer blockbuster. I'm not 100% sure about Marvel's release, but when is the Black Widow movie coming out? May?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, you come out after that. Because right now, Endgame is, or the Avengers is over, right? Like that hype that has been sort of building is done. So now you're going to have another Marvel movie coming out, which is going to help, and the game is going to be better for it. It's going to be polished.
Yeah, that's always. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, my only thing is competing with the base that would largely be playing Avengers. The window they were in was really good. Nothing's happening really in Destiny right now. So that was a really good window. And now they're right up against when interest will be at an all-time high. So you're competing for market share in that space. That's the only challenge I see them running into, but we'll see what happens.
But I think that those kind of games are well suited for that, for coexisting with one another, because Destiny, you know how like anytime an expansion comes out, you play it for a week or two, like a zealot, and then you finish all the content and you move on to something else and go back every week to do your dailies or drop your raid. And I think Avengers is gonna, after the original story is done, it's gonna fall into that same sort of category.
Yeah, and I think specifically with how Marvel's Avengers is going to play is so different from what Destiny does as a shooter. So I think there's going to be that different split anyway of like, oh, this is more of my style of gameplay anyway, so I wouldn't have it gone to Destiny.
I think Avengers will have a larger, well, it has the potential to have a larger install base because it has
it's got
more name recognition.
Yeah, because
it's a super popular
Avengers.
license.
Yeah.
Right.
It's, I think, probably one of the most popular licenses around right now.
Well, and it's a fresh game. If it were competing against Destiny 3, I think then maybe they could be in trouble.
Yeah.
Where Destiny expansions are a little,
I don't even know, man, because every kid, 7 years old up through 35, 45, 50 knows Avengers.
Right.
A lot of those people
50-year-old
don't.
kids, I'm Brandon.
We're all going to be
Sometimes
50-year-old
I feel
kids.
like a
If you work in
30-year-old
this industry,
kid.
you're a kid. It's fine.
So also this is coming out September 4th. So it's like kind of a weird time. Like it's just at the end of summer. It's the beginning of the fall season. Like I think it's going to be in a good space where not a lot is going to be coming out at that time. Yeah.
It's the same day, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we will see.
It's always weird to think like no Cyberpunk at E3, no Final Fantasy at E3, no Last of Us at E3, all that stuff, right? But it's like, well, we'll definitely see more Marvel's Avengers at E3.
But that's what's so
Maybe, yeah.
done,
that's what's so exciting though, is now you're at this point where the heavy hitters that we've been watching for 3 years, Death Stranding's not there, Cyberpunk's not there.
Right. It's weird.
Last of Us 2 is not
Death
there.
Stranding wasn't there last year either.
It's
True. That's true.
Is it?
That's true.
Yeah.
That's right. It
PlayStation wasn't there.
Oh yeah, because they did the big reveal at Gamescom. But point is, all these big heavy hitters that we've been, the Sony playbook where you announce something 4 years before it comes out and you
lot of them
feed
are gone
information, they're all gone. So now what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now what do we see? I'm excited. It'll be time to like show off actual new games. I just want a teaser from the initiative. Please just tell us what you're working. They're still hiring like key positions, so I don't know.
I keep seeing on Twitter, they're like, we're hiring.
Yeah, it's a senior technical director. I'm like, that sounds important.
They'll give you a very minor tease of like the tone they're going for, atmosphere.
I'd be fine with that. Just don't give me like a Metroid Prime logo. I don't care.
I just wish.
That Hellblade tease was excellent.
Oh
Dude.
my God, yeah.
Excellent.
I know.
I really wish we could get
Scary.
the Gears 6. I want the tease.
Tease of it?
I think we're far out. For
Yeah.
that. Probably next year.
I think
Too close to 5.
Yeah, it'll be next year.
Well, is that going to still be before Tactics is out? Gears Tactics?
No, Gears Tactics is out this summer, isn't
Is
it?
it this
Do you think
summer?
they
I
do
forget
an-
exactly which day.
They wouldn't do an
It was early.
expansion or like anything like that, would they, Miranda? Probably not, right?
Does Gears usually
No,
get
I don't
DLC?
think so.
I don't
No, but
They're doing all their
did
maps
one-
and other stuff. They do online stuff.
Well, there was Gears 1, 2, 3, and there was like that
Judgment.
Judgment.
Yeah.
Baird?
Yeah, that's
Gears
the only
Baird.
one they ever did. I hope they never do that again, personally, but
Yeah, so Gears Tactics. Oops, sorry. April 28th. I was like, it's been
Okay.
forever. It's April or May.
So
Yeah.
yeah, the
I'm
last
actually excited for Gears Tactics.
I'm
the last-
super
I
excited.
love
Me too.
XCOM and stuff, so
so the last of the 3 Gears games will be out by then.
We'll see.
I'm curious. Oh,
Yep,
let's
there's a lot
see
coming
some
up.
Fable.
yeah.
Man, you missed last week. We were just spouting up.
I don't know that I missed it. No, I'm just joking. I was
I
Hey.
missed you.
I was bummed that I
Fine.
wasn't here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I think we're also kind of coming to the end of our show. I don't want to go too long because then someone's gonna yell at us. I know. Sorry, producer.
Borba literally
I
has
think
his,
he just woke
he
up.
literally has his head in his hand.
Yeah, and so since we did have a loot box, but we're gonna hold it off again until next week. So thank you guys for writing in. Of course, you can keep sending those in to Ryan. unlocked at IGN.com, I think is the
It's
email.
unlocked at IGN.com.
Yeah, so I think that's we can send them in, and of course we're gonna wait on trivia because none of us can judge that because we're all participants.
tied.
We are all tied because we all got it wrong last week. So
Well,
we're
did
Did you really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, clean slate.
yeah, we're even footing.
Everybody's at 0 still.
I'm trying really hard to like attend more shows this year, so I'm not 20 points behind at the
I
end.
already have some time that I know I have to take off, so I'm worried. I gotta beat Destin.
Well,
That's my only goal. I just gotta beat you.
Oh my.
I'd like to win. I would really love to win, but I just want to beat you.
Yeah, it's just
I'll try.
do it fair and square and
Of course.
take the trophy.
I never cheat.
No,
I would never do that.
I never would.
Yeah, that's awful.
Yeah,
It's too fun.
That would
Sounds exactly
sour
like
the
what a
victory.
cheater would
That
say.
I
sour
tried
the-
giving Miranda my points last year. And they didn't allow
She
it.
tries that too.
'Cause
I tried to do that for
I'll-
Alana one year.
I'll
People got
never
really
have
mad.
enough points to.
I thought you had it for a while because like I
thought
was so
almost-
busy at the end of the
almost there.
year and yeah.
Anyway.
We should do it like Dave and Buster's. We'll just all pool our tickets together and then buy the statue and you
Just
know,
break it up.
we'll split
Wow.
custody.
I get it every Monday and Wednesday.
There you go.
Right.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. So, Destin, what do you got going on?
Well, at IGN, I'm working on like new shows and new initiatives that we're starting. But on my personal channels, you can now find me over at twitch.tv/Destin or mixer.com/Destin. I was able to just get my name, which is really, really nice. And I have a new logo package that I had designed by this team called Get Wrecked Labs. They do really, really great animations and such. And I'm really happy with how it came out.
Congrats. That's
Thanks.
awesome.
Yeah.
Brandon.
Hi.
Hey.
Hey, hi. I'm very tired. I was up really late writing. To that point, all month long we've been doing a IGN First Deep Dive into Disintegration. Super cool new sci-fi shooter coming out of V1 Interactive up in Seattle from Marcus Lito and his team. You know, Marcus Lito being one of the co-founders or one of the original creators of Master Chief and Halo. So some cool ties there. Today we put up a piece on the main antagonist of the game, character named Black Shuck.
Ooh.
He's a real spooky dude. So yeah, you can check that out. Later this week, we'll have some more cool information I can't talk about just yet. But if you missed any of the other coverage, I have a full hands-on preview. We've got like 30 minutes of gameplay up, a bunch of behind-the-scenes screenshots. So what I'm trying to tell you is go check out our IGN first on Disintegration. It's been a good one so far.
Please do. And Mark?
At Mark_Medina on Twitter. Yeah, we've been doing this really cool thing where we've been covering speedruns for years, but now we're doing this thing where we're taking the speedruns and giving them to the developers, and the developers are doing commentary over them.
Yeah.
And it's super insightful. We just put a new one up. Remedy did a commentary on Control.
Ooh.
And it's super funny because a lot of people think that developers would watch a speedrun and be like, we need to fix this, we need to fix that, whatever.
Yeah.
Instead, they were like, we put too many conversations. We need to make it where they can skip these combos. There's a combat gate here. We need to remove this combo gate because we want them to be able to get through it faster. So it's really, really funny to watch them kind of be like, we need to break our game more so they can get through this faster. So yeah, check that out. It's
They're really
cool.
good. And then after you watch that one, go watch the Outer Worlds one. With,
Yeah, there's the Outer Worlds.
Tim
with-
Kaine and Leonard Boyarski.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
really funny. And
They were completely blind to it, and they're like, "What? Why is he jumping over that fence? We didn't design it that way." But it's really, really cool.
Awesome. And for me, you can find me at Havoc Grows, and that's Havoc with a K on Twitter, Instagram, and pretty much everywhere else. I'm in the middle of moving, but after I move, I'm very excited.
that's awesome.
I'm so excited. I will actually probably also start streaming like Destin.
Cool.
But I'm going to stream Dota.
Don't stream like Destin. Be yourself.
No, I am. I'm going to stream
swear a
Dota
lot.
with my little
Don't
sister.
say bam.
I try
No, I
not
won't
to
say
swear.
bam. I swear a lot, though.
Oh yeah,
It's a secret.
You do actually. That's right.
It's a secret. Just off the air. But yeah, so I'm going to start streaming Dota 2 with my little sister because she wants to learn. So if
Awesome.
you want to
Oh,
learn
that's
Dota, you can maybe watch along and learn some stuff too. Yes. Also, please, as far as IGN things go, check out our E3 2020 wiki because it is that time
Dude,
already.
No, it is not.
It's usually supposed
It's
to be.
January.
Usually, it's supposed to be late February is when I start doing it.
Yeah.
Starting
But
early this year.
now that event season never ends.
Hey, we're already talking about Gamescom.
And with that, we're gonna go do more work. So thank you guys so much for joining us, and we will be back next week. Bye.
Black Shuck. What was his name?
Black Shuck. Yeah.